Record Store Day, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Tastings with Whitey's. Today we have our friend Sam Calagione from Dogfish Head. We're gonna go right to him because I have about a zillion questions. So here he is. Everybody knows who this man is. Like he started Dogfish Head. It's a huge brand. He's always innovative in craft beer. He along with a handful of other guys really have made craft beer what they are. I feel like Sam is probably the one who started the most innovation in craft beer, but overall there's a handful of guys that are pioneers, and I am honored and proud to introduce my friend Sam. Rob, how are you? What's happening? Cheers.
Record Store Day and hanging out with you is a great excuse to day drink at 10 in the morning. I'm having a Sequence, which I know is one of your favorites.
And I'm having a Bloody Mary made with Sequence because I didn't want people to be like, look at this guy. He's up drinking already. I have a 120 to drink with you. I have a Hellhound from back in the day to drink with you. I got to watch. So I went easy to start. Sequence is an easy drinking beer. This is made with all local ingredients. George's mixers from Maryland. Old Bay is on it. A friend of mine makes hot sauces called Broho. We put that in there. So the picture will be posted later. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, before you ask me some questions, I grew up in Greenfield, Massachusetts, out by Vermont, but I opened our brewery in coastal Delaware. I think about 2 hours from your beautiful store. I got to say, you don't have a Maryland accent, and your handle is Maryland Beer Guy.
It is. It's seltzer now because I just put out a seltzer collab.
Oh, tell me your New England connections, Rob.
I'm actually from Massachusetts. Yeah. I'm from a town called Sterling, which is home for many famous things, actually. If you know anybody who sews, Butterick Sewing Patterns. Yeah. Mr. Universe, Jay Cutler, from a few years ago, and Mary's Little Lamb was written about Mary Sawyer, who was from Sterling, Massachusetts. So that's three things. And Johnny Appleseed was from the town next to us. So,
wow, there's a lot going on there.
So now tonight, when you go to whatever party you're going to or whatever you're doing tonight, and people ask what you did today, you can say, I met this guy whose hometown is like, it's not on the map, but it should be.
Right? You put it on the map.
Small. What's that?
You put it on your map with your sterling personality.
Oh, I appreciate that, but that's probably not true. But I do appreciate that, though. So I want to start talking about a bunch of, you have so much stuff going on, and we're going to start now and work backwards, if that's okay.
Today, we're going to start on Record Store Day, which is today. Happy Record Store Day, everybody.
Happy Record Store Day. We are going to talk about Record Store Day.
Nice.
But we're going to do that towards the end. I know you have some new stuff coming out. I know you're super proud of it. So let's talk about the Mother Nature. Let's do this program first. What's that about?
So Dogfish has proudly been partnered with the Nature Conservancy, which is the world's biggest environmentally oriented nonprofit, and we've been involved with them since I think 2007. My wife Mariah, co-founder of Dogfish, deserves a lot of credit for initiating that relationship. And we do our Dogfish Dash, which I know a lot of people that shop at your store have been to our run, which is partnered with the Nature Conservancy's, our biggest single fundraiser event. And last year, cumulatively, we went over $1 million raised for the Delaware, Pennsylvania chapter. And we knew people were going to have really COVID cabin fever coming in summer 2021. And so we said, you know what, for 2021, let's make our biggest marketing focus all around this theme of getting people outside, back into Mother Nature as we come out of COVID as a society, both for mental health and for physical health, to be out in the beautiful lands, which happen to be the lands on which our culinary ingredients grow, whether it's the sea salt from the sea quench from the mouth of the Chesapeake or the oat milk that we get from almonds in New York. I'm sorry, from oats in New York.
Oh, so now I know there's like videos. So you guys are videotaping. So the videos are on the Dogfish YouTube channel, so people can kind of keep up.
Yeah,
with what you guys are doing.
Go to the Dogfish YouTube channel. My wife Mariah and I drove a little Tesla all the way from Miami to Maine, and we stopped in every state along the way and hung out with the awesome people that work at the Nature Conservancy every day, and just got to see the amazing work they do specific to their regions that are all around impacts of fighting climate change and protecting biodiversity. So it was a really illuminating trip, and I invite people to go check out those videos to learn about this amazing work that's happening up and down the Eastern Seaboard by the Nature Conservancy.
But I feel like, and you guys do a lot of this, craft beer since it's sort of started has been one of those things which is very give back to the community, right? Yeah. So you guys do this, you do the beers and benevolence, you do all that kind of and I feel like there's a lot of breweries that do that. Now, I know, Sam Adams does, so everybody does some level of give back to the community. And I think that's super important, not just because obviously you're giving back and marketing and things like that, but it creates the community that you want around your brand.
Exactly. And I think, all community building, think globally, act locally. And now the average American lives within 9 miles of a local brewery. And they recognize that when they spend money with a brewery that's in their community, that money gets back infused into that community. So it's a very karmic, symbiotic relationship between indie American craft breweries and the communities that support them.
And you're sort of the pioneer in the innovations. A lot of the stuff you see now kind of started with you, right? I mean, if you think about Sequence a little bit, things like that. So people like you've been a person who's really been an inspiration to a lot of these breweries. So I thank you for that, because you've been an inspiration to me in doing like what I do. I do some pretty crazy stuff, or some pretty stuff I really like to do. Like, we'll get into it, but a couple years ago when the first Grateful Dead beer came out, we have a big empty space next to our store, and we showed the Grateful Dead movie in that space.
I heard.
And we had actually John Zervitz from Union Craft Brewing came in, and he made grilled cheese sandwiches. We had a whole shakedown street and tie-dyes and all that kind of stuff. And part of that, I get that inspiration a little bit from you, because I feel like, look at all the cool stuff this guy's done. So, and you've been doing it for 26 years, and you look great.
So do you. I'll say, Dogfish is very proud of our part in the craft beer renaissance, and we certainly are humbled by the pioneers that came before us and inspired by them, folks like Ken Grossman at Sierra and Jim Cook at Sam Adams, those 80s startup breweries. And maybe we're second generation craft brewery, but to your point, I do think Dogfish Head was the first brewery that proactively stated the majority of beers that we're going to make are going to be made with culinary ingredients outside the Reinheitsgebot. So starting in 1995, when we opened as literally the smallest commercial brewery in America in coastal Delaware, we were brewing like one of the earliest, I think it's the earliest packaged and distributed fruit IPAs, like April Hop, coffee-infused stouts like Chicory Stout, and some of the earliest fruited sours to be brewed in America too, back when no one was adding fermented fruit into stuff like Berliner Weiss during fermentation. Some people were adding syrups after, but we really I proudly got the ball rolling, I think, as far as I know, on fruit fermented, clean kettle sour type beers. And it's super cool to see, thousands of breweries now playing in that creative space.
Yeah, I mean, it's really blown up. I have a question. This is a throwback question too, because are you a musician at all?
Well, I would never. No, I'm not. I don't play an instrument, but I'm very proud to be half of the probably finest beer geek hip hop band of my generation, called the Pain Relievers. And if If you go to Spotify, we have one song up.
Nice.
And Brian Selders, our longest tenured brewer, is the other pain reliever. He's more of the musician. He's the DJ. I'm the rapper. We both rap. So we love all kinds of genres of music, but we had a blast writing 2 albums where every single song was about beer and the beer industry. So that's and I'm just a raging music geek. For example, let's put our glasses up that we lost a great one yesterday in Bismarck.
Yeah. Yesterday we lost a few. I'm only asking because I feel like there's always this sort of connection between craft beer and music and food.
Yeah.
Now, you're not particularly a musician, but your creative outlet is beer, producing beer. And you open a restaurant, which many chefs aren't necessarily musicians, but their creative outlet is food. So I feel like all this is, and I don't know how you feel about this, but all of that stuff is sort of tied in, right? Because your creative outlet is beer. Mariah was big into the restaurant, correct?
Yeah, we both
right. And so hers would be that, and then music sort of tops it off. So that makes that your creative outlet, like beer. And I feel like there's a lot of people like that. They can't play an instrument, but they can do their work and make terrific beer. And it's the same thing. It's a work of art.
Yeah, and the same with you, the way you don't just turn on the lights and say, okay, here's a retail environment, here's the shelves, let the people walk in and buy it. You try to create an experience, an experiential engagement with your customers, including cool shit like we're doing right now, including like events you throw when no one expects you to show dead movies and serve grilled cheeses next door. So, it's about creative expression. That's kind of why we're here on Earth, is to connect with each other through our capabilities for creative expression, whether it's a conversation, a beer, or an amazing grilled cheese, or an album by Miles Davis.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I always thought that. I always wanted to get your take on that, because I was like, that's just such the cool thing. We can talk about a couple other things, the NA beer, and then we're going to get into Record Store Day. Yeah. But you have that new NA beer out, which is delicious, by the way. And NA beers are blowing up.
Yep. Are they selling well in your store, Rob?
Oh, yeah. Like, unbelievable. Like this, and there's so many brands. There's a lot of brands now. They're doing well, and I feel like that's a little bit of a tie-in, like we were talking before we came on, with like the health, people getting into more healthy alternatives for their lifestyle. Like Sequench in that category. NA's a little bit, NA's a lot like that too. So there's a lot of new options for people who don't necessarily want beer.
Right, or they don't, or there are occasions that beer drinkers don't want to drink, alcohol beer in that occasion. So what we're finding is with Lemon Quest, and you're right, the recipe for Dogfish has Lemon Quest. It's a fruited wheat brew made with acai berry, blueberries, sea salt. So it's spirit animal from the alcohol side of our portfolio is definitely Sequench Ale, which is also a citrusy wheat beer. But with Lemon Quest, we have this super cool technology where we're taking de-alkalized beer, making actual beer that's fermented, has alcohol, de-alkalizing it, and then blending it with a low gravity fermented beer. So that only goes to like 1% alcohol. And with the 0 de-alc and the 1%, we blend them and it comes in under 0.5, which is the Fed threshold for calling something a non-alc. But it just has an amazing real beer taste and character, much like a Rattler with more bright, fresh, natural fruit expressions.
Like, and any beers, like yours is a wheat, but some of them are hazies, and I feel like it's an easier way to get. Now that hazies is such a popular style of beer, that I feel like you can get all that flavor without the alcohol. So the evolution of a hazy beer actually helped the evolution.
Hey, Mariah. Hopefully, Rob froze. Hello? It looks like it's from his side.
Oh, we're back.
Oh, you're
Did
back.
you get that question?
No, you're
my internet's being weird.
No, you're good now. Yeah, I think that just the question of the hazy style lends itself to being a great base for a non-alc. I totally agree, and our Sam Adams brand makes a great one called Just the Haze. But I'd also say it's super cool to see the hazy style getting so big that it's fragmenting into these other creative spaces, non-alc being one. But I do think our Hazy O as the first oat milk infused hazy IPA, taking that wellness trend of oat milk. By the way, oat milk's absolutely on fire as sort of a active lifestyle ingredient. Starbucks can't keep it in stock in their stores. So doing that innovation for us was another way to kind of put a different spin on the hazy style. And the oat milk gives our Hazy O a really soft, silky mouthfeel that's like no other beer.
Yeah, I was wondering about. I've been curious about that, and I want to get your take on it. So now we're going to go into the Wayback Machine.
Whoa!
Here we go. We're going to go back to 2010-ish. Okay.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about your Brewmasters. That was the name of the show, right?
Yep.
So for people just watching this now, Brewmasters was a show Sam did. How many shows were there? Like 5, 6? There weren't a ton.
Yeah, we did 6 one-hour episodes. We were really proud of it. Basically, what we loved about it was when they approached us to do it, we're like, all right, but we're not going to do multiple takes. We're not going to do fake scenes. Here's the stuff we're planning on doing around the world. You know, we already had a bunch of collaborations planned in Egypt and Italy and in New Zealand, I think. And we said, if you guys want to follow us around with your cameras and capture what we're going to be doing, that's super cool. And so they were willing to just let stuff happen naturally. I'd go to New York and kind of do voiceover after what they got on the thing, but we didn't do second takes of any scenes or anything. So it just felt like really natural and fun. And, you know, they incorporated a lot of the fun collabs we did, like with Miles Davis's family on the Bitches Brew beer into the show as well. So it was a great experience for us, for sure.
Yeah, so that's where that's what I'm leading into, because I feel like that show and what it started to do with like the Miles Davis beer that came out of that show, and the what was the one you had to crack the corn with your teeth? Is that Egypt? Or was that South America?
South America, so the chicha, you're right. They did an article of all the coworkers at Dogfish chewing the corn, making cake, spitting it out, and then boiling it and making the chicha beer. So that was another super fun moment.
Yeah, I remember that because I had just started in craft beer then. And that show took off, and Dogfish took off like crazy. Like, you had just expanded to like Michigan and some of the to the Midwest. And the demand for Dogfish had exploded so much that you ended up pulling back out of Michigan so you could keep the home market in beer. We had everything you guys did then, which was like 60 Indian Brown.
Mm-hmm. Raison
was Raison out then?
Yeah, Raison Detra was out then. 90 minute.
90. I think those were the 4 main ones back then.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good memory for an old guy, actually. So the TV show sort of escalated Dogfish into pop culture, but moreover, sort of it was the beginning of craft beer in pop culture. And so this is where we're going with this. We're going into Record Store Day, actually. But I just wanted to acknowledge that. And that sort of started you on your way to the music influenced beers, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, Dogfish had always, we our Holy Trinity when we opened we intentionally opened our brewery inside a restaurant because we want to make our beer with culinary ingredients and show that beer is just liquid food and that a brewer should have all the creative latitude that a chef has. But the Holy Trinity was original beer, original food, original music. So he's always had a stage where we've hosted bands like Guided by Voices, The Strokes, Juliana Barwick, Bonnie Prince Billy. So music's always been central to us, but you're right that we didn't start doing formal collaborations with bands until we did the Miles Davis one. But you're also right that the TV show, when we did it, you got to remember that network airs in like 40 something countries. So it was really cool and heartwarming at that moment when the show aired in Australia and Italy and Brazil, getting the emails from young brewers in these other countries that did not have as vibrant of a craft beer scene as we were fortunate to have in America in that era. And they're saying, hey, you inspired me to go out into the outback of Australia and find this rare plant to brew with, or this honey that only comes from this region over this lake in Italy. So it was really heartwarming. And you could actually see that the moment when that show was airing, that the velocity of craft beer in the country picked up.
Oh, definitely. And that was like the early days of, I guess would that be the third wave?
Yeah.
You guys are second wave, right? So there's the 80s ones with Ken and Jim.
Yep.
And then like the 90s ones. So that's basically the second wave. And now I feel like we're in the third wave of craft beer. But
Yep, totally agree. But yeah, so music's all. In fact, one of the young brewers who was inspired by our show when it aired in England came and visited us. He's like, hey, I want to take my dad for a tour. I'm a small brewery in London. And I was like, all right, I set up a tour for him. I was on the road, and it was Logan Plant and Robert Plant came through our brewery. His dad was getting a Kennedy Center honor, and they came and toured us. And I guess, we were a big inspiration to Beavertown Brewery, Logan's Brewery over there. So those kind of stories and that connection to music, like you said, the connection between the music world and the beer world is epic.
So how does it work when you do, first of all, how many music collaboration beers have you done?
Oh, I mean, just off the top of my head, everyone from Grateful Dead to Pearl Jam to Miles Davis to Juliana Barwick, great Deltron 3030, Guided by
Voices. I actually have that. For people who don't know, let me find it.
Bonnie Prince Billy, Galaxy 500, Jimmy Allen.
There's the Positive Contract, which is the Deltron.
That's the Deltron
3030.
Super fun. So quite a few. And as you can see, it's kind of across genres with men, with women, different bands. And we know our musical tastes are as eclectic as our fans' beer tastes. There's not one beer style. There's not one musical genre that we love. So getting to kind of play in all those different areas has been really heartwarming for us.
So I want to go right to the Grateful Dead beer because this is the one that is near and dear to my heart. How did that come about?
So that came about where we'd done the Miles beer, and then Eddie Vedder reached out, said he was a huge Miles fan and saw the show, and we did a Pearl Jam beer. And then I think Pearl Jam's managements were buddies with Grateful Dead's, and they actually approached Phil Lesh. And Phil Lesh has his own live music room just outside of San Fran called Terrapin Station, and he plays a lot with his sons out there. And his sons were big Dogfish fans. So when the dad said, "Hey, yeah, we heard this thing that Pearl Jam did," our management said, "What do you guys think of that?" And the sons were like, "Holy shit, Dad, you guys got to do that. Dogfish is doing really fun stuff with music and beer." And so we got in touch with the band members. They basically said, "Let's make it an all-American pale ale." And then we reached out to the Deadhead community and the Dogfish community and asked the two communities what one ingredient based on a story that connects you to the Dead do you think would go great with this all-American pale ale? And the ingredient that was chosen was this great story about this kid who remembers his earliest memory was having granola, in the parking lot before the show. And this family was poor. They could only afford one ticket. So he remembers having the granola, and he remembers his dad lifting him over the fence into his mom, who had the ticket to go to the show. Pretty cool first memory, right?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. This is actually, this is a little bit further down the line. This is the 2015 special edition label. Signed by Sam. Thank you very much. But this is actually that beer in a different. This is the original version of, because it's been 2 other versions. So this was the pale ale. Then there was the hazy ripple, which was last year's.
Yep.
And the one in the middle was closer to this than the hazy beer.
Yep.
Correct.
Cool. Yep.
So that was actually this beer.
Yep.
This glass for this beer.
Yep. It had that logo.
Yeah, it had that logo.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. I know you guys are out. Somebody said, I just saw Sam at a Dead Company like last year at Camden.
Yeah, my whole family went. It was freaking hilarious. My son, who's actually the biggest dead fan of the family. I'm way into them, but he's hardcore. You and he would get along because I know you like fish a lot too, Rob. But he's like, we were like, hey, hang out with us. And my kids are like, nah, we're going to hang out with our buddies back here on the lawn. And then the dead folks saw us then in there and waved us up to the stage. And so my wife and I went up stage with John Mayer and Bobby and stuff. And we were just hanging out. And
nice.
Mariah texted Sammy and she's like, look next to Bobby Ware. We're just hanging out, waving to our kids. And if our kids had been with us, they would have been up on the stage. So yeah, that was a pretty funny moment. But as a hardcore Dead fan, I got to ask you, Rob, what's your favorite studio album the Dead ever put out? And what's your favorite live album the Dead ever put out?
Easy is American Beauty.
Yeah.
Easy. That's my favorite Dead album. Yep. And probably, I have the reissue right here. I haven't even opened it yet. But this one.
Ooh, yeah.
It's called Skullfuck, but they call it Skull and Roses or Bertha.
Yeah.
I played this so much my freshman year in college.
Yeah.
Like that going down the road on it, I know every note of that. If I had any musical ability at all, I could play that song. Probably. But yeah, I love that album. Every time I hear it, it's like that's the ultimate. That version, that Not Fade Going Down the Road, is the ultimate going down the road song. Top down, windows open, blasting. Yeah. I love it. I could get a speeding ticket every time I hear that version.
The hammer down, yeah.
And that's my favorite studio one now, since obviously there's like a gazillion because they put them out all the time.
Yeah.
So, they put out like live stuff all the time. 4 times a year, Dave Lemieux puts out a specially curated show, things like that they put together in box sets and blah, blah, blah. So,
it warms my heart. David Lemieux's hosted a few beer dinners with us in Rehoboth. And our company not only loves music, but we over-index with coworkers who are amazing musicians. Casey, who you know very well, being one of them. He comes from being in a serious touring.
He's right here. He's watching right now.
Oh, Casey's the man.
He's putting his vote in for what his favorite.
Working Man's Dead released the same year as American Beauty, and Casey, great album. I'm different than both of you, which is good. My favorite's Shakedown Street, which I know takes some arrows for being kind of disco-y. But that was one of the first albums I ever bought because it had that super cool cartoony cover before I even knew who the band was. But great call, Casey. I think both Working Man's Dead and American Beauty came out in the same year, back half and front half.
Yeah, they were like 6 months apart. Like there's a terrific podcast called The Deadcast or something that is put on by them. If you're a podcast guy. And they do the history of all of these albums. Like they have all the producers, like some of the band members that are in it come on and talk about like the songs and how they were created and things like that. It's the good old Grateful Podcast is what it's called. So you should check it out. It's actually put out by them, but definitely check that out. So that's going to roll us into Record Store Day, which you guys are huge, huge, huge sponsors of.
Yeah.
Now, how did that come about? Is just because of the love of music, or?
Well, once we started doing those collaborative beers, and maybe Rolling Stone magazine wrote about the Miles thing. We started, getting that recognition in the music community for being deeply passionate, not just kind of slapping our logo on something, but going deep on how we bring our love of music to life and our love of specific artists to life. And that led us to our good friend Michael, who is the founder of Record Store Day, who, yes, it's like, it's a nonprofit, it's an organization. And when you think about the fact that the challenge facing indie record stores is so similar to the challenge facing indie craft breweries, we're up against the world's biggest international brewing conglomerates that dominate over 83% of America's beer sales. And then the indie record stores up against the Amazons, the Spotifys of the world. So similar challenges, but similar passion for what we do. So we thought, heck yeah, let's go all in to be the official beer of Record Store Day. I think we're on year 8. Michael comes down to coastal Delaware for Analog A Go-Go, which is our beer and music festival where we invite indie record stores to set up on the lawn at our brewery. We put beers in between their booths, and people can flip through vinyl while they're drinking beers. And then at night we have bands like Bill Callahan, Bonnie Prince Billy, Built to Spill has played that event too. So the love for music is real. Record Store Day, because of COVID, did get kind of bifurcated. They split up the love because there couldn't be big lines, out front for social distancing reasons. So today is officially the second drop of Record Store Day. There was a June Record Store Day where we released our collaborative album called Hazy O with the amazing Delaware-based country artist Jimmy Allen, who just won an American Country Music Award as Best New Male Artist. So shouts to our fellow Blue Hen, Jimmy Allen. And then today's the other Record Store Day. I do think next year it'll likely go back to one big drop.
One.
Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure.
There's a local store here in Annapolis called Ka-Chunk.
Yeah, it's good.
He posted last night.
Awesome.
He posted last night there was already a line for today. That's awesome, right? Yeah. Like what I love too is you guys do every year. You have a different artist do like the artwork for you have your own version. Like this one behind me, is a couple years ago. Yeah. And then here's the album this is 2018. So you guys had this poster made. Yep. And you give these posters away. Like we have a big display at the store with that.
That display that you and Casey and the team built is one of my favorite displays I've ever seen because it's got a 3D kind of vibe.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I can post a picture of the actual poster.
Casey's
but
got photos,
you have to see it. It doesn't do it justice. You have to actually see that piece of work. I was looking at it the other day, and I was like, I really need to take this home. And my wife it would fill this whole wall behind me. Yeah, it's huge.
It's bigger than beautiful. Are you going to offer it off, or what are you going to do with it, or just put it somewhere in the store for good?
Well, we're getting ready to expand the store actually. So I was talking, my boss came over and looked at it the other day and he was like, that is amazing. I said, I think when we expand, we're just going to, on one wall, we're just going to devote to this piece of art.
That would warm Casey and my hearts to know that.
I feel like people need to see it. They also did a very good one for the RTDs. I don't know if you ever saw that. Like a 3D one for RTDs. Yeah. For the ready to drinks, which was very good too, but
you mean with the arm over it, or
no? That one. It had the jiggers and it had like the cans to advertise those because we did a big tasting for those. And that one was excellent too. Yeah, I kind of got the idea, and you're into. I know you'll be into this because you're into like album art and stuff. Yeah. So the guys at Union did a beer called Can You Pass the Hoppy Test, which was a takeoff of the poster, Can You Pass the Acid Tests? And so they had a guy, his name is Nate Gonzalez, who lives out in California, design the label for this beer. Yeah. So I was looking at this label and I was like, you know what would be really cool? If it had motion. Huh. So what we did was we took 2 clock motors, and on either side of it, it was a hop leaf here, and I think the Union Craft thing logo up here. and we put clock motors on it so they spun. So when you looked at it, the thing was moving.
Kind of trippy.
Yeah, it was super cool. The only thing I wish I had thought of was if we had put like lights on it, so the lights would like a light, so it would change color. Well, it was super cool. Casey has a picture of it. I'm sure he'll show it to you sometime. It was super cool. It was like that. Yeah, I didn't keep it actually, which I should have, because we used it for subsequent. We used the motors for something else, but it was still.
Let me ask you, going back to the canned cocktail, because we're super proud of the Dogfish canned cocktails. We've been distilling spirits at Dogfish for over 2 decades, and our blueberry shrub vodka soda just won best of show at the LA Spirits Awards. What do you think of that? What do you think of the Dogfish canned cocktails? And then what do you think of that overall category in your world?
I mean, they're blowing up. I mean, those, like the Dogfish ones are great. I really like the blueberry one. I really like the strawberry lemonade one.
Yep.
There's so many of them. You can make the Chelada with sea quench as a canned cocktail. There you go. You could do that. Yeah, they're great. And I think people want that convenience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they want to be able to take that stuff on the road with them. So they're doing great. I mean, there's a million of them. I mean, the competition in that's like this summer's seltzer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the competition in that stuff is like unbelievable. Like how many of them, and new ones all the time.
Every week.
And now there's a new thing called ranch water or something, which is I think just a masculine version of hard seltzer. is my take on it. But so that's like the next thing that's coming. So I don't know what that does to beer. I mean, you could answer that better than me with all these sort of with all these other alternatives. What does that do to beer, and what does that do? What does the beer industry have to do if they're not making those necessarily? What do they have to do to compete? I mean, I think that's valid.
Yeah, and I think there's different breweries. I think the customer is in a better position. They have more variety, and the customer's always right. You got to give the customer what they want. Obviously, they're asking for more variety, and I think different breweries will take different tacks. There may be more purists, like New Belgium's growing, but they seem to be sticking just to beer. Sierra's doing alcoholic kombucha. We do a Dogfish seltzer just in our own locations, but canned cocktails, full strength spirits, and beer are the lanes we mostly play in. So I think each company is going to be different, but I do love the fact that whether it's a ranch water, which can be malt based, like the one Diageo does, Lone River is malt based, or there are others that are actually made with tequila, like the original drink. And I love the fact that diversity of liquids makes brewers have to think outside their comfort zone and say, where can I take beer in a direction? For example, one of the best-selling items at Dogfish Miami, our new brew pub in Miami, is something we call Dogfish Mojito Ale. So it's a hybrid of a mojito and an ale, where we're taking our seltzer base, mixing it with a little sea quench, and then adding fresh muddled cane juice.
That sounds great.
Lime juice and mint. So it really comes, it's like 9% ABV over ice, and it really comes off like a beautiful hybrid of a sour and a mojito, and selling really well. So that's one example of how we're choosing to put an off-center spin on a beer cocktail.
Yeah, and beer cocktails actually are a really big thing. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places that are doing. I mean, sea quench is basically the perfect.
You're drinking one right now. You're drinking
exactly.
The ultimate local vor beer cocktail with all your local ingredients.
Right, exactly. And like that sea quench is the perfect base for like almost all of those. Yeah. To tell you the truth, I mean, it's got so much going on flavor wise, and it blends so well. You can make a margarita. You can make this. You could do what you're talking about, the mojito.
Yeah.
I'm going to crack this hellhound.
Do it.
Do it. So
I'll drink it virtually with you while I sip on my sea quench.
So this is, you give us a little background on this, because I'm going to crack it, and then I'm going to crack like this thing. This has been around so long. I got a little rust on the top.
That's how you know it's good. So do I. Human rust is good. Gray hairs is human rust.
Yeah, well, there you go, buddy.
Rust never sleeps. But yeah, so that one was totally a labor of love. So Robert Johnson, kind of like young Marble Giants with their album Colossal Youth. You could say he was a one-album wonder, albeit many decades ago, and is just considered one of the most amazing guitarist in the history of guitar. His mentor was Blind Lemon Jefferson, a guitar player from Texas. So when we wanted to celebrate this celebration of Robert Johnson's life with his family, who reached out to us after we'd done the Miles Davis thing, we wanted to do something that really was not just an homage to Robert Johnson, but an homage to the lineage of great American sort of pre-rock and roll iconic guitarists. So we took his favorite mentor, which was Blind Lemon Jefferson, and we used organic slices and flesh of lemon in a big, huge IPA that over-indexed with super citrusy hop varieties like Centennial and Cascade. So it's just a really citrusy lemonade. The artwork by Mark Spusta is a reference to the legend that on this crossroads, Robert Johnson encountered the devil and basically sold his soul to the devil for his ability to play guitar better than anyone else on the planet. So it's a cool legend, and the label reflects that, and the recipe reflects one mentor's inspiration to another iconic guitarist.
It held up pretty good.
Is it still? Is it wicked hazy?
No, I mean, it's
picked up color.
Picked up color. I mean, but it's held up pretty good. Now, it's been in my basement, which is not like the best, but it's like between probably 60 and 55, and it's an old farmhouse, 55 to 65, pretty much year round.
Yeah, that's a good tone.
Yeah, I mean, it's held up fine.
Nice.
I mean, I don't know if I drink a ton of it, but I could finish that. If I didn't have to go to work, I'd finish that bottle. But yeah, so it's held up really well. A couple more things. I want to crack that 120 with you.
Yeah, when you do, also people should look for that one amazing album of Robert Johnson. It's kind of the template of the blues pre-rock and roll. And those of you that might be tuning in, if you're online at one of America's great indie record stores, please pick up and send me. I'll trade you some beers for it. The Gun Club album that's being released today, like another awesome proto-punk band. And then there's an amazing tribute album that's a tribute to Jonathan Richman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's on that?
Yeah, and there's an amazing, I'm forgetting, but the album's called Songs from the Astral Plane. And those of you, so we're both massholes, so we know who Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers are, the famous songs Roadrunner. You might also remember him. He was the dude in the tree singing songs and Something About Mary. And Jonathan Richman played at our stage twice in Rehoboth Beach. So those are two albums coming out today as part of Record Store Day that I'm particularly excited about. Are you?
Yeah, he's like the best Jonathan Richman. You know this. The Government Center song. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
I love that song. And New England, too.
New England's a great one. Or I Went Dancing in a Lesbian Bar. Classic.
That's a great one. And then in the movie Fever Pitch, he at the end, he closes out the credits with a song about Fenway. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think it's on the – I got to grab this album.
Yeah. That's funny.
I don't think it's on the soundtrack.
Yeah,
but it is in the movie. I love that song, New England.
Yeah, me too.
That's a terrific song. So that's what you're looking for Record City. What have you been listening to?
Oh, so yeah. So I in knowing we were chatting today, I was like, what are the 5 albums I've been spinning the most this summer? And so my 5 of the summer would be. Only One's a Shameless Dogfish plug, which is one of our earlier music to drink beers to, which I know you've got the beer that's also related.
Well, let me grab that. I'm going to drink that too.
Yep. And then I've been on a big Bell and Sebastian kick. These are probably my two favorite of the Scottish band, Bell and Sebastian. If You're Feeling Sinister, which I think came out before The Boy with the Arab Strap, two classic albums. And I also love how much they care about design, almost like the Smiths or Roxy Music. They obviously put a lot of care
that's cool
into the designs of their album. And then the other two I've been listening to a lot of would be Perfume Genius. His album Too Bright is an absolute classic. His last two albums have been fantastic. And then I got this great a best of or classic tracks from Trojan Records. So super early, like late 60s classic reggae from artists like, Lord Creator and Jimmy London. So that's been a great listen this summer too. How about you? You were telling me, and by the way, I got to tell you, my son, we give him shit because we say he has the musical taste of a 62-year-old environmental lawyer. So his favorite bands are Fish, the Grateful Dead. What is it, Mariah? Goose.
Goose is the new one. Goose is like the new Goose and Twiddle are like the new age like jam guys. Like I've heard a little bit of both of them. I mean, I have that taste too, actually. So I'm not gonna throw shade on anybody for having that taste because that's basically it. So this I have albums and they're all upstairs, but I mostly CDs. So this just came out yesterday, which is the Tedeschi Trucks Band with Trey Anastasio of Fish. Wow. And it's Layla live at Lock-In. So they did the whole album front to back. Do you know Derek Trucks at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. He's an amazing player. And Susan Tedeschi has like the best voice, and she's terrific. Fun fact about Susan Tedeschi.
Yeah.
You're a Massachusetts guy. Tedeschi Food Stores in Massachusetts is her family.
Oh, really? Like parents or uncles or what?
Yeah. So her family owns Tedeschi Food Stores in Massachusetts. And every year, apparently they own like a big plot of land in Maine or something. And every year they go to Maine and Tedeschi Trucks plays a big concert for like a family reunion. If somebody told me that it was from like Sterling. And she was related to them somehow, and she goes every year.
That's so cool. Is it like just on their farm? It's not at a venue?
Yeah, it's like they own like a mountain or something, and they're like, and they invite all these people. And this woman who came into the store like once told me all about it. She was like, it's the coolest thing, and she married into that family too. So anyway, so this just came out, so you guys can get this, and it is on vinyl. I don't have it on vinyl. I have a record player, but I don't really use it.
Yeah.
It's upstairs. This, I only have three. This, The War and Treaty. This is a terrific disc. So this is like a blues. They like blues gospel.
Is it new band, older band?
No, they have a couple other ones out. I happen to like this one. I saw them on something over in the pandemic, during the pandemic, with Maggie Rogers was on it. I can't remember what the show was, but I love these guys. These guys are terrific. So anybody out there, check this out.
Nice
The
one.
Love and Treaty. And this is a local guy who throwback to this is Chris Jacobs, the latest Chris Jacobs disc.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, he's the funny story about this is he's a Baltimore guy, right?
Yeah.
He's from Baltimore. So when Phil Lesh does the Phil and Family things.
Yeah.
So Chris Jacobs has played with him. So one day on the Grateful Dead channel, they have a show called Golden Road, and I'm listening to it. And this guy calls in, and he's talking about how his son got to play with Phil and what an honor it was and all this kind of stuff. And his dad never said who it was, right? So I was doing a beer interview show, kind of like this, and it had a music tie-in, and so we had Chris Jacobs on, and so I was like, "How come your dad never said your name in the whole interview, in the whole phone call?" And he goes, "Yeah, I don't know why." I asked him, and he was like, "I never said your name," and he was like, "No, Dad, you never said who I was." But anyway, he played with him out in California, and his dad's a big Deadhead, so it was a huge thrill. And Graham Lesh plays with him when he comes around. As a matter of fact, I think at the 8x10 in Baltimore, they're doing like Jerry Days, like a Days Between thing. And I'm pretty sure Graham Lesh is on that bill. It's like Mookie Siegel and Graham Lesh is playing with Chris Jacobs on that. So
nice. You're going to go to that?
If I'm around, I don't know if I'm around. I'm going to one at Union with John Kadlicek and Melvin Seals. That kicks off their 9th anniversary party. Oh, and the other funny thing about Chris Jacobs is, so I went to do this interview thing, and I was wearing a UMass sweatshirt because I went to UMass.
Nice.
It turns out he went to UMass.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And he went to UMass along with John Zervitz, who's one of the co-founders of Union. They were roommates at UMass.
Ah, that's the connection.
So just a small world, I guess.
The Pixies went to UMass.
Who's that?
The Pixies, the great band that.
That's right. They have that awesome song.
Yeah, like University of Massachusetts.
I love that song.
Yeah,
I wish I could put. I think I have it on my Spotify. Yeah. They have a song called UMass. So we're one of the few schools that actually has
cool shout out.
I feel like that we're one of the few schools that has that.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
nice. Hey Rob, I have to jump in 2 minutes. I got to take my little cousins out to lunch. But
where you go?
We're going.
I think we covered everything. But I do want to cheer you. Oh, this is pretty flat, Sam. This 120.
Oh, because it's how old?
Like, it's old. But I just want to say, cheers. Thank you for coming on with me. This is a huge honor to me. So,
well, Rob, I could chat with you forever. We have the same interests, the same passions, and I know Casey and our whole company loves our relationship with you and with Whitey's, and we're just super proud to be part of each other's journeys.
Well, thank you, my friend. You be safe. Thank you. I want to say thanks to Casey for setting this up. Thanks to Mariah for her connection for that. And I hope to see you soon.
Me too. Happy Record Store Day to everyone.
Happy Record Store. Everybody go to the local record store and do that. When is the analog?
Analog. Check dogfish.com for the dates in November. And we're going to have some sick musical artists and great indie record stores and a great guest cult loved brewery there as well. So come check out dogfish.com.
Beautiful.
All right.
Have the best day, my friend. Be safe.
You too. Later.
Well, that was fun. So there's a bunch of people I want to thank here. Casey, for sure. Casey Hollingsworth for getting this set up. We had some complications early on, but we pulled it off. Casey, you're the man. Mackenzie for coming in, bringing me stuff, the posters yesterday. I want to say thank you to Bridget of Annapolis Streaming she was streaming this the whole time. Head down to Ka-Chunk Records today for Record Store Day, and congratulations to Kirsten and Sam on their wedding. So good things all around. Cheers, everybody. This is slightly sour. Look at you getting plugged. I gotta try this. This is about a 10-year-old 120. Still pretty good. It's a little barley wine-ish now though. But anyway, cheers everybody. Thanks for watching. And this week, Seltzer Festival on Thursday night and Jaws in the parking lot on Saturday. Cheers.